What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Dynasty. And it's been a little while, right? It's been like a week or two. 2 weeks ago, I know we had some schedule conflicts, and then last week I was out of town, but we're right back at it today, and we're going to be talking about news and notes from around the NFL, rumors, rookie hype, all of that stuff. Man, we've missed a lot of stuff. Um, mandatory mini camps have started, all that other stuff in the NFL. We're getting that much closer to football. So we have all of the headlines for you today. We're going to be talking about it, giving our initial reactions, and also giving our takes on how this type of stuff is going to affect fantasy football. But I don't want to waste any more time. I want to get our guest in here, our co-host, may I say, MFGDs. Let's bring him in. How you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I know, man. I know, man. But we back. We back and better than ever, baby.
We back at it. So, what I have for us today, man, is I have it split up into two segments. So I have 5 headlines that have been buzzing around the internet for the last couple days, over the last week or so, actually. So we'll talk those headlines. We'll see, your initial reactions on those. We'll give our takes on fantasy football, and then at the end, I'm gonna do what we call rookie blitz, and it's just hype. It's hype and news that has come out of these mini camps, and I want your initial 60-second or less. Just, hey, this is good hype. Hey, this is bad hype. This is how I feel about it. Or if it's unnecessary hype and it's just fluff, let me know that too. So we'll start from there. But first and foremost, you guys see the jersey in the back, right? I mean, it's signed. We got the Dalvin Cook jersey. So the first piece of news is Dalvin Cook was released from the Minnesota Vikings. So I will read the article here by Tom Pelissero, and he says uh, the Vikings saved nearly $9 million in cap space with the release of Dalvin Cook, who is expected to have a strong free agent market. The Dolphins and Broncos have been closely linked to Cook over the last several months, which include rumors of the Dolphins trying to trade for Cook ahead of the NFL draft. Adam Schefter reports that the team could attempt to trade Cook once more before the official release. We know that didn't happen, but it does sound like the veteran running back is officially on his way out of Minnesota after 6 seasons. Um, Injuries have plagued Cook throughout much of his career, but it hasn't stopped him from ripping off 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons and 43 touchdowns over that span. So he should have a market. What is the initial reaction for you? How do you feel about the release of Dalvin Cook? I guess let's just start there. This isn't surprising, right? Oop, we don't have your audio. You're on mute.
Took it off of me, but I guess Meek said I'm coming back. Um, I thought you was gonna take the hitter on this one because this is your guy, man. This is your boy, man. You've been with him since the day he put on purple and gold, man.
Yep.
Um, as far as my opinion of it, and you're gonna disagree with me, I think the Vikings made a mistake. I don't think it'll be a big, like, colossal loss for them cutting Dalvin. But let's just, okay. So for some reason, I know a lot of Vikings fans. For some reason, and then also, and for the most part, there seems to be, and it's a little bit from you too. There seems to be this sense of it's Dalvin. We could just play them. Alexander Madison. We'll just replace Dalvin. Dalvin Cook is a multi-time Pro Bowler for a reason. I mean, you just can't. Yeah, you cut him. You just can't expect Madison, who hasn't done it like for an entire season before, to just come in and just all of a sudden replicate what Dalvin has done. So Dalvin is a free agent. I totally expect him to sign with Miami. I don't even know why it hasn't happened yet. I think the market is just slow on running backs. I don't know if it has anything to do with anything. Maybe they're waiting for DeAndre Hopkins to sign somewhere. I don't know. Because maybe a team is like, okay, if I can't get that weapon, then I'll get another one. But I expect him to sign with Miami and nowhere else. And I think that'll be a nice little boost for Miami, because then they could have a 1-2 punch with really, they got 4 capable running backs. They'll have Dalvin, A-Chain, Mostert, and Wilson. So that's where I'm with Dalvin. I know in Chicago, even though I don't live in Chicago, but I listen to Chicago media. They're kind of just laughing all the way to the bank, saying that the Vikings are fools for letting Dalvin go. I think they're doing a little bit too much. I don't think it's as bad as they say it is, but I also don't think things are as good as Vikings fans are saying it is either.
Yeah, I mean, look, it comes down, and this is me. I'm gonna take it down to just the surface. I mean, just below the surface levels of all this stuff, right? Like Dalvin Cook. Obviously, Minnesota Vikings fans love Dalvin Cook, appreciate Dalvin Cook for his time. Um, it's just unfortunate because as much as I love Dalvin Cook, towards the end there, there had been some animosity that was built up. There was some negative stuff coming out with Dalvin's camp, and it just got messy. And unfortunately, when you have those breakups in sports, it should be just business, but a lot of times players take it personally, and so I think Vikings fans are happy that we don't have some of the drama. But you're right. Alexander Madison is not Dalvin Cook. And from playing with me for a couple years that I've said that he's not Dalvin Cook before. That is not
Yeah.
something that people should get confused. So if you do believe that Alexander Madison is just going to step into that role and give you the same production, that's not the way that this is going to go. However, that doesn't mean that Alexander Madison can't be a solid or a good running back at the NFL level, given the production and given the amount of usage. But I think Alexander Madison, for the most part, should be considered an RB2 on your roster. He's going to get the
Yeah.
workload, but I know that they do want to somewhat tap into this committee approach now. There's already been rumors out of camp that Wes Phillips, he's the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, he's been saying that Ty Chandler needs to get ready because Ty Chandler's time is coming, and Dwayne McBride looks good in camp and all this other stuff. Like they're gonna run a couple guys. It's not just gonna be Madison all by himself. So that's the big thing. I wish that Dalvin Cook's agent hadn't gone out and started poo pooing on the Vikings. I wish that Dalvin hadn't gone out in the media. One of the things that he's come out recently and said is that his next place he goes to is going to be a place that respects and values him, which implies that he wasn't respected or valued by the Vikings, which I think is a little
Do you
bit
agree with
off.
that? You disagree with that?
Yeah, I don't think he was. I mean, I think at the end of the day, man, it comes down to business, right? Like they inherited Dalvin Cook's contract. Dalvin was not signed by this regime. He was signed by the Spielman and Zimmer regime, right? So
Yeah.
they ahead. You get into a time where now we're looking at signing a major, probably a record-breaking contract extension for Justin Jefferson. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to sign TJ Hawkinson to a contract extension this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to move on to where we have these pieces that we need to go out and re-sign. Well, when you look across your roster and you look at your spending, what is the most expendable position to cut some of that savings at? It's going to be your running back position.
Running back, yeah.
And so you look at it and you say, okay, if Alexander Madison can give us 70% of what Dalvin Cook can give us production wise, but he's costing us 20%, it's worth moving on and getting that 70% production at a 20% pay rate, and then just moving forward with what you got. You can get more guys, bring more guys. And if Alexander Madison is not the answer, he's not the answer. You can find more guys. At the end of the day, you need the money. You need to go re-sign Justin Jefferson because he's a cornerstone piece to this roster. You want to go get TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, we didn't just trade for him to have him play for 1 or 2 seasons. We want him here long term. He showed us that he was that guy too in our offense. Like he's somebody you want to build around. And at the end of the day, that's just what it is to me. Um, you know, people's feelings get wrapped up in it. I think Dalvin Cook still has some tread on the tires. I don't think Dalvin Cook is washed. I think we've seen a little bit of a downtick in some of the production, some of the efficiency, but I think he still has 1 or 2 1,000-yard seasons left in him. Where it's going to be, I don't know. My guess is as good as yours. I think Miami is probably a favorite because he's from Florida. He's talked about wanting to play for the Dolphins, and they've already been involved with him on multiple, trade rumors and signings and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, too, one more thing I want to touch on this Dalvin Cook thing is that they tried to do Dalvin Cook right. They wanted to trade Dalvin Cook. And if you trade Dalvin Cook, he gets to keep the contract. It's not like they just reset the contract. He gets to keep the money. They tried to trade him. Dalvin
Nobody's
Cook
taking that.
well, one, nobody was taking it, but two, the first time that they went and tried to trade it, Dalvin Cook decided to surprise the Vikings with shoulder surgery on an injury that he had in 2017. And the reason why he did that is so they couldn't cut or trade him because he wanted to lock himself into some money.
So he
Now,
did a variation of the Scottie Pippen. Okay.
yes. And so you messed up the first trade by going and getting surprise surgery. So okay, you locked yourself into this money after we passed that date. Um, but now you've messed up your trade market for that period. And then as we get closer to the NFL draft, and then obviously after the NFL draft, after teams like Miami drafted Devon Achane or things like that, and it looks like all signs are pointing towards a guy getting cut. Why are you going to trade anything for Dalvin Cook if rumors already that he's going to be cut free and you can go sign him without giving up any draft picks? It just doesn't make sense. So I think they tried to do him right. The timing was off. For whatever reason they didn't line up. But at the end of the day, it's business. And I really do appreciate Dalvin Cook for the time in Minnesota, man. One of my favorite players that I've watched over the last couple of years. It's time for that next chapter in Minnesota. We saw a little bit of it last year. They're kind of flipping it now, especially this offseason with the moves of Thielen and Dalvin, and they were even going to move on from Harrison Smith and some of these other guys that have been there for a long time. Eric Kendricks, like these guys, they closed the chapter on that and they're starting their own thing. So
Just
Dalvin
go
was one
ahead
of
and
the.
just go ahead and trade the Bears to Neil Hunter real quick. Just
He might be out the door too. We'll see. He's holding out of camp and stuff. So that's
we'll
my
take him.
thought process on the Dalvin Cook stuff. Again, super appreciative of him. Love the dude, man. But at the end of the day, it's business, and that's what it's going to be for the Minnesota Vikings. So, um, what does this mean for fantasy football to you? Does it matter that he got cut, or do you view him the same?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, it might even improve his stock for 1 year. I definitely don't see it being a situation where this is a multi-year success. I mean, he still is a running back at the age he's at. So
Hmm.
I think in Miami, you actually get a fantasy boost for this season, but I don't think this is going to be like a multiple year boost.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said, he's 27, coming off of 1,100 rushing yards and 300 in the air, 10 touchdowns. Like there's still some juice left for Dalvin Cook. It's just a matter of where it's going to be. And I think you're right. At the end of the day, we were looking at Dalvin Cook as a 1 or 2 year window guy at best, and I think we still are. Like that's just it. The only thing that I would say is a little bit worrisome for me as a guy who has him on a dynasty team is that it sounds like Dalvin Cook is going to chase money in free agency. He's
Mm.
already come out and said that he wants to get a multi-year, multi-million dollar contract. He wants to chase money, and whether he's going to get it or not, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the running back market is there, but it seems like that's what he's chasing. The only thing that worries me about it is that he might end up going somewhere where maybe it's not the best scheme fit, or maybe it's not the best opportunity for him to, score a lot of touchdowns because he goes to a team that doesn't have a lot of talent, but they have a lot of cap space and he's chasing money. That's the only thing that worries me a tiny bit. But I think you're right. I think Miami is probably the favorite. And if he goes there, it should be a really good fit.
I think a nuclear doomsday scenario for Dalvin would be if Tennessee signs Hopkins and then the Patriots are the ones that want to give Dalvin the money. That'll be, we don't have to go back into it, but we know
Yeah.
Juju, Jaceki, we'll just have one more grave there ready for another player, and that player will be Dalvin Cook.
Yep. No, it's going to be interesting to see. My guess is that he's probably not in a hurry to sign anywhere right now because he wants to see how much money is out there first. So, um, with
I
our
think the
second piece,
Vikings
and
still owe him $2,000, right? I mean, 2 million. I said 2 grand.
yeah, they owe him a little bit of money still too. But that 2 million, who for him, who cares, right? Like he already has enough at that point. Like 2 million, he's gonna go find his next 2 million anywhere. Um, but you already touched on it, DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
Obviously was released by the Cardinals uh, from the time we did our last show to now. He was released by them, and he's been doing his little visits. He's went to Tennessee. He's in New England today, and the rumor is that I'm seeing right now. It's from the Athletic. They're saying that there's optimism that DeAndre Hopkins reaches an agreement to the contract today while he's there. So, we're getting towards the end of the day here. I don't know if it's still going to happen, but it seems like that the Patriots are the favorite right now to get him.
Yeah, honestly, my mind has already kind of went to him going to the Patriots. So once again, a little plot of land there, laid DeAndre Hopkins to rest. And
Yeah, I mean, here's the
pretty
thing
bad.
with
It's pretty bad. Real quick, for the life of me, I don't know why a wide receiver or any type of like skill position player will be like, oh, sign with New England. That's a good idea. And I was reading some crap earlier about, oh yeah, Mac Jones, he's slinging it. Like Mac Jones is slinging it. Like I'm like, okay, whatever you want to say, DeAndre's going to sign with you guys. You guys don't have to lie about Mac Jones slinging it. And it's
yeah.
just like, I don't know, man.
I mean, okay, so for what it's worth, there has been the marriage again or the reunited or they've just done it again with Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones. So I heard today that they're bringing some Alabama play calls that he was running at Alabama when Bill O'Brien was the OC there. They're bringing it back and they're going to run it in the Patriots offense. And then there's the rejoining of Bill O'Brien and DeAndre Hopkins possibly. And what I've heard is that there's no animosity between them is what I've heard. I've heard that DeAndre Hopkins doesn't mind it, whatever. They've mended whatever was there. But for what it's worth, some of Hopkins
that fact has completely gone over my head the whole time that Bill O'Brien is there and that DeAndre Hopkins might sign with the Patriots. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and so for what it's worth, D Hop now he was a lot younger then, but some of D Hop's best years were under O'Brien as a play caller, and some of Mac Jones' best years were under O'Brien as a play caller. And I think for what it's worth, Mac Jones, I'm not going to bat for Mac Jones right now because I'm not a big believer in him, but this is a guy who his rookie of the year, he did look pretty solid. Like he won rookie of the year, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Did Mac Jones win rookie of the year?
I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering that correctly, he did.
I don't know. I feel
But
like that might have.
that was when he had an offensive coordinator calling plays. Like last year, he had Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator, calling offensive plays. That was such a failed experiment. I feel like we have to take last year and throw it out the window. And now we need to look at it. Okay, he's going to get Bill O'Brien. There's familiarity there with the Alabama offensive play calls. And this is a make or break year for Mac Jones, but it sounds like they're going to try and get people to come around him. It's going to be Juju Smith-Schuster and possibly DeAndre Hopkins now. And then does he have somewhat of a team that he can throw to now? Like it's going to be Hop, Juju, Gesicki, Hunter Henry, Ramondre. Like it's decent. I'm not going to say it's a bad offense.
You know what? I'll say this. In real life, this guy. In real life,
he says he's runner up for rookie of the year. So he was runner up.
In real life, I like it a lot more than I like it in fantasy. In fantasy, I don't like anything really unless it's Ramondre Stevenson. I don't like anything New England Patriot related. And even Ramondre Stevenson, I can't trust it. Like I read something today like about Pierre Strong getting more turn up.
Well, they cut James Robinson to open up some cap space, and because of that, Dynasty Twitter went on a Kevin Harris frenzy where they thought Kevin Harris was now the guy because he beat out James Robinson. And as a guy who likes Kevin Harris, I do not think that that's the case, but it is what it is. We're disrespectful, by the way, because it was Jamar Chase who was the rookie of the year that year.
Yep, sure was.
And yeah, so Mac Jones was the runner-up. But yeah, so for what it's worth, DeAndre Hopkins is going to go to, or is rumored to be signing with the Patriots. Now, we've also heard, he could possibly go to Tennessee. How do you feel if he lands in Tennessee? Do you feel better?
No, that's like New England Patriots South. All paying players go there to die too. That's why I'm just like Treylon Burks dead. Whoever signs there dead. Like any until well, I can't even say until Ryan Tannehill stops throwing the balls because then Will Levis, who quite possibly is worse, we'll get to that later, is also pretty much not going to do it. So I don't like that either, man. I don't like either. I think Hopkins should have took less money to go to a team with a legitimate quarterback.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because as we have had these rumors come in and out, there has been very little smoke coming out of Kansas City and very little smoke coming out of Buffalo, which both teams were rumored to have been in on D Hop right away. And for what it's worth, neither of them have really made any major efforts to go get D Hop. So it doesn't look like that's going to be a landing spot for him. And that's kind of what we wanted, right? We wanted him to go to Buffalo or Kansas City.
I didn't want him to go to Buffalo or Kansas City because protecting my current fantasy football assets, I didn't want him to go to either.
And who are those assets? Probably Gabe Davis.
No, that's Matt. Khalil Shakir and freaking Rice. Like I don't want to. Yeah, no.
Fair enough. But is there a landing spot that has been rumored that you would feel excited for DeAndre Hopkins? And then with that question, follow it up with um, give me the best and worst case scenarios for D Hop. If he goes to, the worst landing spot, what is he going to be for fantasy football? And if he goes to the best, what is he going to be?
The best case scenario is him remaining a free agent. The worst case scenario is signing with New England or Tennessee.
Okay, so if he
but if I had to choose between the two, I guess I'll choose New England just because Bill O'Brien is there. That's the only reason I would choose New England. But other than that, it feels like it's a 2-horse race at this point, and I don't like either of the horses.
Is he wide receiver 2?
On which team?
Either.
Well, okay, by wide receiver 2, do you mean is he the alpha? Is he the second wide receiver, or are you talking about?
No. Like he's gonna finish on the season in fantasy football between wide receiver 12 and wide receiver 24.
Say mid to low end wide receiver 2.
So you're thinking closer to like 15, maybe 16 to 24 range, or even lower.
No, not lower. Not lower. I'll give him some respect.
Okay, fair enough. He has dealt with a little bit of injuries, but last year, obviously, he had the suspension. 64 receptions for 700 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. It's going to be interesting to see if Hopkins has any left in the tank. He is getting to that age. He's 31 now, so he is getting to that point where they start falling off quickly. We talk about those running backs that fall off, 26, 27, 28. Those wide receivers, they fall off, 30, 31, 32. That's about the fall off for them. So he's right in the middle of that cliff. So it could be approaching anytime soon if it hasn't already approached on him already. So as we talked about Buffalo, I want to get into the drama that has been going on in Buffalo for the last couple of days because there have been subtweets, Instagram posts galore. Stefon Diggs storming out of practice, leaving practice, and then Sean McDermott going to the media and saying that he's very concerned about Steph. Josh Allen and Von Miller coming out and saying like they're in full support of Stefon Diggs and they hope that he can get, what he has going on figured out. And then he shows up at practice the next day like nothing happens after subtweeting his coach on the internet. So what is going on with Stefon Diggs? It seems like this has kind of evolved a little bit because there was some animosity and there was a little bit of frustrations with Steph after they got bounced from the playoffs last year. And he said that they got to be better, they got to fix some stuff, yada yada yada. And it seems like it's still brewing. It still is going. Is this something you're worried about for Stefon Diggs, or is this your typical offseason wide receiver drama that then just turns into them playing in the same uniform week one?
Man, Stefon, right now he's real petty Pendergrass, and Stefon needs to get back in the machine and turn back to Urkel. That's what we need to do for you old folks out there. Stefon needs to do that, man. You should know better than anybody, Drew. We've seen this is out of the pages of Stefon Diggs' playbook. He did this in Minnesota. Am I correct me if I'm wrong? He did this in Minnesota, like on his way out of there. Like he was getting frustrated, acting weird, like doing all that stuff. And you know, look, I love Stefon Diggs. He likes wrestling, so I'm right there with Stefon Diggs. But this is Stefon Diggs 101. Like, and this makes me, because of history, this makes me feel like there will be some move from Stefon Diggs. If not this season, maybe next offseason. Do I think it's going to affect his production? No, because when he was in Minnesota, it didn't affect his production. So, I mean, frustrated Stefon Diggs is just as good as not frustrated Stefon Diggs. But I do think that Buffalo needs to start preparing for life without Diggs. And, hey, they got a couple of wide receivers there. Maybe they could develop Gabe, who a lot of people don't like, Shakir or Shorter, or one of those guys. So
next year's pretty deep at the wide receiver position too. If they do move on from Steph, they can draft one next year and so on. But I think you're right, man. Look, as a guy who watched the episode just unfold in Minnesota, this is Stefon Diggs, man. Like, he is one of those guys that you love him because of how talented this guy is. I mean, it's undisputed, right? Like, as a wide receiver talent, he's been a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL for years now. Like, he's just been one of those guys. When you go ask DBs, we've seen Xavier Howard, we've seen Jalen Ramsey, we've seen all these other guys who play against these dudes. They put Steph on the list every time. Stefon is one of those dudes. It comes with the reality TV show, which is the pettiness of Stefon Diggs and some of the drama of Stefon Diggs. And at the end of the day, you know what? I think if you're a team, you understand that, you put up with it. You got to keep it managed sometimes, which I think they're trying to do right now. I mean, Sean McDermott was putting out fires today where he was going to the media immediately after practice when Steph showed up and said, him and the team are in really good spot now. They're in a really good spot after less than 12 hours of him storming out of practice. They're in a great spot now. So
did he storm out today or was that yesterday?
It was yesterday. This has been over the course of a week and a half.
Because I seen a video of him on the Pat McAfee show. He was just like bumping chests with Josh Allen. So
yeah, so he was at practice today, and he was in attendance. He's been in at practice the last day or so. But at the end of the day, man, I think it's a little bit of drama. I think it comes from these things happen when you have guys that care so much about the team, right? Like, I don't think it's coming from a negative place with Steph. I think it's from a positive place. He wants this team to win a Super Bowl. That's what he cares about the most. He wants to go win a Super Bowl. And so if he has to throw a little fit to make sure that everybody gets right, he's going to try and do it. Because at the end of the day, I know that some of the concerns that he had was that, one, he felt like they could have utilized him more down the stretch last year in the playoffs. He felt like if he saw a couple more looks, he could have changed the outcome of a game or two. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a alpha wide receiver being an alpha wide receiver. But you're not worried about Steph in Buffalo? You think, come week one, he's going to be your normal high end wide receiver 1 for fantasy football?
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, me either. So I think you can continue drafting, rostering Steph, and viewing him as this top 10, probably a top 5 wide receiver for 2023.
Yeah. Diggs is good.
All right, so let's transition. We've talked about the running back market already. We're about halfway point on the show right now. Country for Life in here. He says, "Hey, you remember me? Yes, I remember you, man, from the Best Ball Mania episode. I appreciate you stopping in again." But Saquon Barkley, man, did you catch the news or the little video of Saquon?
Yes, I did, and I did want to provide an update. I made sure that I kept a good eye on it before the show. It appears that they are back on talking terms as far as like trying to get
Get a
something
contract?
done. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, because for what it's worth, they went and talked about Saquon and the lack of him being able to get a long-term contract. And I think it was pretty cool because he kind of cut it straight to the point. And he said, "Hey, look, they had the top 3 guys in free agency this offseason. All 3 of us never got the opportunity to hit the open market. They tagged me, they tagged Josh Jacobs, and they tagged who's the other guy that got tagged this offseason? Tony Pollard. They tagged all of us. So none of us had the chance to go get the open market. Now you get that, you kind of cap the market, and it screws it for guys like Miles Sanders and so on because they can't go get a big contract because the other guys didn't come in and get a big contract. And so now he's saying that, the team wasn't willing to commit to him. He doesn't want to reset the market, but he wants to be, paid for what he feels like he's given to the team. And he just kind of brings it down to where he says they asked him if they think that, next time that the NFLPA goes and has that, big meeting with the league, do they need to kind of look at the way that they're structuring running back contracts and switch this up? Because apparently right now, like, and we all know it as fans, we know it. Like running backs are kind of getting the short end of the stick. And um, Saquon says, "Look, I love the game of football. I'm not going to be here in 10 years, but it is something that probably needs to be fixed and probably needs to be addressed. But I'm not going to be the guy who's going to be able to go do that for you." So I hope that Saquon can get his contract. But the way that things have been going in the NFL, man, it looks like history is just kind of showing you that like we're gonna 1-year deal, nickel and dime, franchise tag this guy until the wheels fall off, and then we're going to kick him to the curb.
that's what's going to happen. That's the new life of a running back in the NFL. Like, I mean, I understand when Saquon, there's a point where Saquon was Bijan. He was the
Yep.
guy that everybody, the number one guy on every. I remember. Um,
I mean, literally, they're saying Bijan is the best guy since Saquon. Like,
Saquon, yeah. So I
yeah,
mean, yeah, man, it's the life of a running back in the NFL is not
it's
kind at
it's
all.
it's tough. And I think for what it's worth, man, he's 26 years old. Last year, he had a bounce back year. We had some injuries for Saquon the last couple of years where it wasn't good, but last year 1,300 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns with 57 receptions. Like for fantasy football, he was fantastic. For NFL, he was fantastic. Like um, he's 26 though, and we know what that means for dynasty fantasy football. And at the end of the day, man, he said they asked him, "Would you consider sitting and sitting out the season to protest the contract?" And he said it's a card that he would be willing to play if they can't get to an extension. So, does that worry you as somebody who might be rostering Saquon in a league? Would you be worried about this? Do you think that he really would, sit out if he doesn't get this extension?
No, and I'm kind of basing this on the news that came out today about them talking. I think I don't think he'll sit out. I don't think Saquon's that type of guy. And I do want to add too that I was thinking about the running back position as we are talking, and I was trying to think back. Who is there any chance for the running back position to have a resurgence to where guys are irreplaceable? Who are the irreplaceable guys in the last 20 years? Really, I mean, I can only really think of 3. You weren't replacing Derrick Henry for one. Their entire offense is built around him. You can't just go out and get another Derrick Henry. Like, I'm 100% sure about that. Adrian
Yep.
Peterson was another
Yep.
one for the time that he was in Minnesota before he started to really decline. You couldn't replace that. And honestly, I think in today's NFL, it would take a modern day LaDainian Tomlinson, like a guy that can literally throw touchdowns, receive touchdowns, and get the rushing yards, a guy that can do all 3 in order for a team to be willing to keep them more long term and treat them with the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, It's just tough, man. We see that the trend here is that you get a running back, you play them on their rookie contract. If they have a really good rookie contract, production, you tag them. You don't let them hit the open market. You just eat the 10 million or whatever it is to tag the running back, and then you hope that you've got enough out of them by then. And if not, you hope that they dip in production just a tiny bit so you can get a discount on like a 1 or 2 year deal and just pay them some chump change and then still get the rest out of them. But there's very few guys, man. I mean, as we look across the league, like I tried and look across the league at like, okay, let's look at that 2017 running back class because that was the last class that had like a bunch of really, really good dudes. And so we go across that class and we say, okay, Christian McCaffrey, he got a second contract, but then the
That's
Panthers ended
another
up
guy that's irreplaceable. He's another irreplaceable player.
right. But then the Panthers ended up getting out. They needed to get out of the contract because they went into a rebuild and the money was too much. So they ended up getting out of the contract. Dalvin Cook, he got his second contract extension, and then a new coaching staff and front office comes in, and the money's too much. We got to get him out of here.
You
Joe
agree two
Mixon,
different levels of player, though, right? You agree
yeah,
that
yeah,
McCaffrey, Mixon, Dalvin, it's like
right. But I'm just going through the class, right? So then we
yeah,
go
yeah.
down, we go to Mixon, and they give him the second year contract extension, or the second contract extension, and now they're talking about. There's been rumors of, oh, can he be cut or are we going to replace him or whatever? And it looks like he's safe for this year. I think he's fine as the starter. Part of the problem
Alvin
with Mixon is he
Kamara,
hasn't. Yeah, part of those problems with Mixon is he's been off the field trouble all the time. But
yeah.
then you get to Alvin Kamara, and then they gave him a contract extension, and it looks like they've already started moving on. You get Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller, they're already starting to move on. And then the last one, Derrick Henry. And it looks like they've stuck with him for the most part. I like Tajay Spears, and Derrick Henry's been, he's been really healthy for the most part. He, just recently had that foot issue, but he came back last year and he looked fine. It's to be seen with Derrick Henry. He's going to be 30, and that would be phenomenal if he could play this dominant into his 30s. Like,
I feel like really with Derrick Henry, if he plays well this season, I think for running backs, that's like a Tom Brady-esque like type of
yeah,
situation. Running back being super productive past 30 don't really happen this day and age.
yeah. But I'm saying we look at that class, and they had a ton of really, really good guys, like all pros, Pro Bowlers. Like, these guys were phenomenal. None of them are going to see the end of their second contract even. And most of them were dealt out of their team within 1 or 2 years of getting that second contract, so they didn't even really get into the money. So the reality of it is, like, I just don't think they're not willing to extend, and the teams that have
They're not,
extended, the
man.
history hasn't been good.
And I'm gonna tell you this, and you're gonna agree with me because it's easy to forget this. I think Todd Gurley screwed a lot of stuff up for running backs. I really do,
Yeah.
because that's another guy. He was another one of those Saquon, Bijan type guys. One of those
He was that
guys. It's
dude.
like, yeah, and he got his money. And his knees just degenerated. And he
And you know who
disappeared
else
off the face of the earth.
participated in that was the Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon held out, went and got a bag to go play with the New York Jets, and we know how that went. I mean, that was just a disaster. And so it hasn't been good, man. Like, when you give these running backs a lot of money, it just hasn't been good. So we're either going to have to see maybe a difference in the way that these running backs are being utilized, and where we're kind of using them more where they line up, in running routes, and then you have maybe a bigger guy that runs through the tackles, but you pay the guy who runs the routes, and it's kind of playing more in the elusive kind of running back. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. There's going to be a way that they have to figure it out. I don't know if they're going to figure it out. The reality of it might just be that and they talked about it, is the solution might be that you just highly, highly incentivize these running back contracts where you guarantee them, X amount of dollars, but then they get extra money for yards, they get extra money for touchdowns, they get extra money for this. And then, if they have a really good season, they get cashed out. Like, it's a big contract that they get in a bunch of bonuses because they had a good season. And maybe that's the way to do it, because then you can actually, the guys who are balling, they get money. They get a lot of money. And then the guys who fall off the age cliff, they don't get money. And maybe that's just the way to do it, right? Because it's all production based. So I've heard that as a solution, and maybe that's. I would like to see which team decides to do that first. Maybe some team heavily incentivizes a running back contract. Maybe it's the Giants with Saquon. I don't know, but at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to talk about. And while we're talking about contracts and and cap space, the last final big piece of news that I had for you was that Cooper Kupp, Sean McVay, and Les Snead, they're up to something, and I'm trying to figure it out. You're going to have to help me. You're going to be the detective here. But the Rams have converted $14 million of Cooper Kupp's salary into a signing bonus, which means that they've just opened up $14 million in cap space for them this season. What would they need $14 million for right now?
I mean, are you suggesting that they could possibly be trying to jump in? And the Rams do stuff like this. Jump in at the last minute and try to like swing a deal for DeAndre
Or
or
Dalvin?
they need a running back.
Is that what they're doing?
They do need a running back. Trust me, as someone who has A-Chain shares, Dalvin, please go to Los Angeles, please. Like, but why would they need 14 million to do that? Dalvin's not a 14 million a year player.
He said he was chasing the money.
I mean, okay. So let's just
Now, for what it's worth, converting the 14 million opened up 10 million because they were 4 million under the cap. So they have 10 million now. Is Dalvin worth 10 for one season? If you say, "Hey, we'll give you 10 million this year. Let's see if you got it."
I'm going to answer that with a question. How much do you think Dalvin is worth? I want to see if our number is about the same. And take it to matter of fact, let's not even look at what he's worth. Let's do some kind of mixture of what he's worth as a running back and what he thinks he's worth and what he should be asking for.
Yeah. Well,
I have a number in mind.
Okay, tell me your number because I wanna give you a little bit of detail into my number. So I'm just getting some other numbers for you real quick.
I feel like conventional wisdom would say that he should be getting 5 million per year, but I think he should ask for 8 million.
Okay. So my initial thought process was, okay, what free agents have signed contracts this offseason? And the first one was, okay, how much money did Miles Sanders get? I couldn't remember off the top of my head. How much money did Miles Sanders get? Because Dalvin Cook should ask for more than Miles Sanders got, and he should receive more than what Miles Sanders got.
What did Tony Pollard get?
He was tagged.
Well, when you think about that, that's kind of dumb for Dallas.
Yeah. I don't know. But so, anyways, should he get more than Miles Sanders? Miles Sanders is gonna make $25 million over 4 years, which what does that translate to? About
a little over 5 million.
It's
I'm bad at math.
Like 6 or 7 million a year.
Okay, so 8 million, yeah.
So yeah, Dalvin should probably be getting. I think if you're going to sign Dalvin Cook, you need to go and give him a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal. And if you do a 2-year, I wouldn't be opposed to you saying, "Hey, we're going to give you 2 years, $18 million." I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't do it, but I think that you're right. The realistic approach is that he's going to get somewhere between probably $7 and $10 million on an annual basis, and it might just be a 1-year deal. And if you opened up 10 million as the Rams, that might be right in Dalvin Cook's asking market. Like that might be right where he's asking, and you could bring a guy in who's going to be the second best player on your offense. Like,
yeah.
It's gonna be him and Cooper Kupp. He's gonna be the second best player on the offense.
Yeah, the more you talk about it, the more like I feel like it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
And what guys don't, I feel like everybody wants to go out and live in LA and have that Hollywood lifestyle. Like, especially when you leave a market like Minnesota, like you want to go to a market where it's like you're a superstar. You know what I mean?
Think about this too. Miami, LA.
Similar.
I mean, look, hey, I take it from Stephen A. Smith. You know, those are the two places he want to go, Miami
And
or La La Land.
if Miami can't give you the money and LA says, "Hey, we have the money," you just open the door and you say, "Okay, I'm going to LA."
I mean, not even okay. Even with that, man, it's like the Rams have a legitimate need for a running back.
Yeah.
And I think if they sign Dalvin, they're just going to go ahead and cut Cam Akers because I still don't think they like Cam Akers.
There's already been the
So,
BS with Cam, man. Like,
and
remember,
so
he
if you
stepped away
have,
from the team.
yeah. And so if they sign Dalvin and you still have, what's that kid's name? The one they
Zach
drafted late,
Evans.
Zach Evans, that he still could be Dalvin's backup, you know? So, man, that makes a lot of sense. Dalvin to LA makes a ton of sense.
I
More
just
sense than
saw
Miami.
I just saw that you know, they converted money and they opened up 10 million in cap space, and it kind of was like, okay, what are you doing here? Like,
I have a feeling you'll be making a YouTube short about this, about how you're right that Dalvin signed with LA.
maybe I need to do that tomorrow. Maybe I'll say that bold prediction: Dalvin Cook signs with the Los Angeles Rams, and then
Yeah.
when it happens, it happens. But um, that is all I have about NFL news from around the league, rumors, all of that stuff. Now, I wanted to do the rookie. Just we're gonna blitz through these 60-second analysis or less. We can keep it short and simple, each of us. But I have 5 or 6 little blurbs from this mini camp, and they've just popped up on my thing. So we'll go about them. You tell me what they mean, or if they don't mean anything at all to you. So first and foremost, uh, Sean Tucker is reportedly going to be ready for training camp, and that the Buccaneers are excited to see what he can do for them.
Sean Tucker. It's not going to mean anything because honestly, I have a hard time even remembering who the hell Sean Tucker is. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to do anything. I think the Buccaneers are dead in the water. Any rookie that's going there, I mean, Baker just brings down the entire thing. Kyle Trask, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, I don't got much to say about Sean Tucker. I don't think it means anything. Sean Tucker's a running back, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just hard to who's still there? Keyshawn Vaughn's still there, right? What's crazy?
Yeah,
I think
they signed Chase
one of my
Edmonds.
rosters. They go, okay, Chase Edmonds. I actually have Sean Tucker. Now I remember. Okay.
Yeah.
I still don't think it means, even with me having him, I still don't think it means anything. And that's why he's on my taxi squad.
Fair enough. For me, my quick analysis on that is, okay, yeah, we all expected Sean Tucker to get an opportunity. I mean, we were excited for Sean Tucker before the NFL draft. Then he had the illness where they said, like, he was having heart problems or something like that. Last I heard, it was similar to Journey Brown and the Chris Bosh stuff that happened a couple years back.
Oh,
So
that's not good.
yeah, if he's healthy, man, like, we want to see it. He had fantastic productions at Syracuse, but we need to make sure the kid's healthy, dude. So let's make sure that that's good, and then we'll worry about the rest for fantasy football. But I think the reality of it is, like, even best case scenario for Sean Tucker, and let's say things move fast. Let's say he's super healthy this year, and there's no setbacks and there's nothing wrong. And best case scenario is that he's competing to be in a committee with Rachaad White and playing for the Buccaneers. So, like, how valuable is that, bro? That's Rojo, bro. Like, from a couple years back. Do you want Rojo?
No.
Okay, so that's the answer. Like, we don't care.
No, yeah, I don't care. And that's why I was like, the Buccaneers. That's who you're missing, Rachaad White. A lot of people high on Rachaad White right now, man. I mean, I'm kind of high on him. We'll see.
I got heat from Brandon because I said that Rachaad White is just a guy. He's just a guy, man.
He wanted to trade me for Nick Chubb, and I told him that I wanted Rachaad White and the first for Nick Chubb, but he didn't want to do it.
Oh, well. So we're going to keep going through the blitz, trying to keep it fast.
All right.
And so we got Jahmyr Gibbs. The Lions have made it a point of emphasis to move Jahmyr Gibbs all over the place in practice. He's even lining up out wide receiver sometimes.
I heard this rumor. I love it. I love it for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to be a stud this season. I think David Montgomery has a penchant for being unhealthy these last few years, and I think that's going to continue. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to eat.
David Montgomery left practice this week with an injury anyways.
Of course, so this is the second time he's been injured this offseason already.
Yeah. So I think you're right. This is fantastic for Jahmyr Gibbs. First of all, we loved him as a pass catcher coming out, and to hear that the team that he's going to wants to line him up outside and run routes. Yeah, man, that's going to be a lot of fantasy football points. I don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler year one, or maybe not even ever in his career, but that type of utilization is what those guys get. Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey, they line up outside, man. They run routes. And if Jahmyr Gibbs is getting that, we know how that is for fantasy football points in PPR leagues. So I'm super excited about that. Sticking with the Lions, Sam Laporta, their tight end, they said that he has been Jared Goff's favorite target over the last couple days and is especially the favorite in the red zone.
It means nothing. I mean, if that means something, then Chase Claypool looking like an entire new player means something. It doesn't mean anything right now. This is training. I mean, it means nothing.
Yeah.
I don't see. And if he does look good, is because is Jamo allowed to practice right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I'm pretty sure because I think he can't be at training camp, but he can be at the mandatory mini camp.
Okay, so it might.
I don't know.
Something.
That's interesting. That's something I don't know about. But if Jamo's not there, and then you're looking good, of course, because one of the guys isn't there. But for what it's worth, man, I think Sam Laporta is super talented. He was one of the guys that I liked a lot at the tight end position this year. Does this mean a lot? No, because you're practicing in shorts against your own teammates, and you're really not trying to injure each other right now because you're at a mandatory mini camp. Like, of course you're going to look a little bit better, man. You guys aren't really playing super hard defense, and you're running through some plays. Like, let's see this in week 2, week 3. I want to see you become a red zone target week 2 or week 3, and then I'm super excited. But for right now, it's as expected, man. I think Sam Laporta should be good for the Lions. I think he'll probably be the second or third receiving option. Yeah, man, it should be good for Laporta. But this type of headline doesn't get me super excited. You shouldn't be viewing him differently because of this. 3 more for you, and then we'll get out of here because we're approaching that hour mark. Zach Charbonnet. Greg Bell says, do not be surprised at the playing time and opportunities that rookie Zach Charbonnet is going to get this season. Apparently, he's impressed coaches, teammates, and Seahawks beat writers during OTAs. And Zach has been told by Pete Carroll that he does everything well and is just a complete ball player. How does this make you feel?
I'm sure there's thousands of fantasy football GMs right now that are very worried. Very, very worried. I'm glad I'm not one of them. I don't know if Shane's still in here. I wonder what Shane thinks. Yeah, that would be concerning. If I have Kenneth Walker on my roster, I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, with everybody just pumping Zach Charbonnet because he's in here just balling out. And here's the thing, man. Like, we knew Zach Charbonnet was good. Like, we all had him very high on our boards come draft day, but the draft situation obviously made us all kind of put our foot on the brake and kind of, wait a minute, what are we doing here? But
it was so sad. I thought Zach Charbonnet was going to become Zach Charbonnet.
Shane says, repeat the question. Shane, how do you feel about Zach Charbonnet lighting it up in camp as a Kenneth Walker guy? How do you feel about Zach? That is the question. But I think it's fantastic if you're Zach Charbonnet, a Zach Charbonnet manager. I think it's, obviously just pushing more of what we didn't want to hear as if you're a Kenneth Walker manager. But at the end of the day, I said it pretty quickly after the NFL draft, and I think it needs to be utilized this way, guys. Like, this backfield probably is going to become pretty like 60-40 split pretty quickly. And the reality of it and maybe the reality that Kenneth Walker fans don't want to hear is that Zach Charbonnet is a better pass catcher and he's the bigger back, so he might be utilized on the goal line more. And if you're losing pass catching work and goal line work, how valuable can you be as Kenneth Walker?
Looking up Zach, who has Zach Charbonnet and trading for him in all leagues.
Well, you can't get him off of my rosters.
I know.
Shane says it's Kenneth's job to lose, or until he loses it. Kenneth Walker looked so great last year on the field. If he does it again, no reason to take his looks away. Kenneth will lose passing work mostly. Yeah, that sucks though for fantasy football. If you're in a PPR league and you lose passing work, man, that sucks. But I got two more for you. Here you go, War. Your favorite player, Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers. This one is, I just threw this one in here for fun. Bryce Young has opened Thursday's practice on the first team offense. Newsworthy or no?
Did Bryce have to stand on the ladder to open practice?
It's not in the report.
No, it's not newsworthy because I didn't know that Bryce wasn't starting in the first place. So
they did that bullshit where they like Andy Dalton is the starter until otherwise.
Oh, he's getting Justin Fields. He's getting the Justin Fields treatment.
Bro, they did that bullshit. And then Frank Reich, obviously, within 2 weeks of seeing Bryce practice, they're like, he's the starter now. You know, we took him with the first pick overall. You know, shut your ass. Bro, what are you talking about? You just drafted this guy number 1 overall. You think you're fooling us by saying he's not the starter? If you don't start him, you lose your job. What are you doing?
That kind of makes me feel sorry for Andy Dalton, to be honest. Like, why is it always he has to be said, why is it always me? Why do I always have to be the
Yeah, and Frank Reich said that Young opening the day on the first team was the next step of development for Bryce. Bro, this man backed up Andy Dalton for a week and a half and played more practice reps than Andy Dalton for a week and a half, and now he's the start. Whatever, bro. I just thought it was funny that this was even news. I don't know why we declare the number 1 pick overall on the first team offense. We know he's on the first team offense. You drafted him number 1. So, anyways, I thought that was funny. And by the way, he's listed as 6 foot 195 on this website.
The website is lying.
And then last but not least, this is my final one for you. Tajay Spears of the Tennessee Titans, running back out of Tulane. They say that he's been one of the most active players this offseason in the gym and on the practice field. And Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator of the Titans, says that they want to try and give Tajay Spears as much as he can handle as far as workload goes. Got you muted.
I repeat, like Pat Mahomes said, I see it when I believe it.
Fair enough. I just think for me, man, Tajay Spears, he's definitely a better pass catching back than Derrick Henry. So all of those times last year that you saw Dontrell Hilliard, when you saw him on the field and you saw some of these other guys step on the field, Tajay Spears should definitely, be on the field during those snaps when they're on third down and things like that. Like Tajay Spears will be on the field. The interesting thing and the thing that I am interested to see the most is, does he even get an opportunity to eat into rushing attempts? Maybe, maybe not. I really like Tajay Spears as a prospect. Now, they had the thing come out where they said that he doesn't even have an ACL in his leg because they took it out, which is worrisome because it's bone on bone. There's no ACL there.
Yeah.
So maybe a shorter playing career for Tajay Spears, but he's talented as hell. So we'll see what it goes. But I think I like this. I like that he's, the news is that he's in the gym more than anybody. He's on the field more than everybody, and they like him. They want to use him as much as they can. I think that speaks a lot because when you come in as a rookie and you get to some of these coaches, especially some of those coaches that have that old school mindset like Vrabel and guys that come out from that Patriots tree, like they want to see guys who come in and work their ass off. And I think that's good on Tajay for coming in and doing that. So it's good to hear as a guy who has Tajay on a team or two.
I mean, you got to keep grabbing backups for Tennessee because, that when Derrick Henry goes down, and I'm not talking about injury, I'm talking about decline. When it happens, it's going to happen in like a burning, amazing glory. Like when he falls off, he's going to fall off bad.
Bro, when he goes, it's gone. Like
Yeah,
we're
it's going to be
done.
quick. It's going to be quick.
Yeah. So I think it's smart on them. Like I said, Henry's 30 years old. We talked about it earlier. Like, or he's going to be 30 this year. Like, it's coming, man. He's evaded the cliff for so long. It's got to be somewhere so close.
I've been saying he was done for like the last 4 years. I'm done saying he's done until he's done.
And as soon as you stop saying it, it's going to happen.
Yep.
So, anyways, that was my little rookie blitz of headlines. Do you have anything for us here today before we get out? Any news or anything NFL that you want to talk about? Anything you want to shout out?
Tyler Scott's turning heads in camp. That's about it.
Malik Mack, go Fins. If you were here earlier, you might be getting this guy right back here. You might be getting him. I do want to say, while we have you guys on camera, and I'm going to slide over here. I'm not going to show anything. But we are giving away a signed NFL jersey. So it is right there. That is the mystery box right there. If you want to enter to win the jersey, it is free to do. You don't have to do anything crazy. You don't got to pay no money. You don't got to do nothing, guys. All you have to do is subscribe to this YouTube channel, go to the link in the description, and join the Discord. If you do those two things, which take you about 25 seconds to do, you are automatically going to be able to go in to our giveaway tab. And once you're in there, you click participate. That's it. You're in. You're ready to win. So go and do that. It's super easy to do. It's a free signed NFL jersey. There's not many times where somebody is going to be able to offer you a free signed NFL jersey for that little of work that takes you 30 seconds and costs you no money. So go do it. We are going to be giving away that at the end of July. So we're about 40 days away from giving it away. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck a couple other little surprises in there from the League FFB. So we're gonna make sure that it's a good little box for you guys. So make sure that you go and do that. It's going to be linked in the description, like I said. And that might be it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe as well. Make sure you share it with your friends and so forth. Potentially working on a couple collabs here on the channel in the next couple of days, and we're dropping my cornerstone rankings for each position group. We dropped our quarterbacks yesterday, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. Running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends to come here in the next week or so. So that is what we got going on. I appreciate you all for stopping by and checking out. War, final words?
Check out crimson-mass.com and check out the Crimson Mass Show on YouTube, baby. Oh, yeah.
There you go. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace out.